Hi, in this video I explain how situated expectancy value theory can be used to understand students' motivation. I provide an overview of this theory and explain its implications for teachers. The music model of motivation includes 5 categories of teaching strategies that can be used to motivate students. Situated expectancy value theory has implications for a few categories, but especially usefulness, success, and interest, as I'll explain in this video. But let's first start by considering how 2 students discuss their current classes and career plans.
I'm not doing well in my biology class. I'm not really that good at biology, and I don't want to take any more biology courses. I think I'm going to select a career that involves math because I'm way better at math.
I did really well in my English paper. I'm good at writing, but I want to be a science teacher. I've been working with an environmental scientist in the summers, and I really have a passion for environmental science. I think it's important that people understand how they can impact the environment.
These 2 students demonstrate the importance of 2 key concepts in motivation: expectancy and value. The first student is not doing well in biology, and therefore doesn't expect to do well in the future. As a result, she's thinking about a math-related career because she's good at that and expects to continue doing well at it. The second student is good at writing, but wants to be a science teacher because he really values the importance of environmental science and wants to share it with others. These examples show how expectancy beliefs can affect a student's motivation, but it also shows that values are sometimes more important in students' decisions to choose specific courses or careers. It seems expectancy is necessary, but not sufficient for some types of student motivations. Regardless, both expectancy and value are important motivation concepts that can have powerful effects on students' motivations. The expectancy part of the expectancy value model is the part where students ask themselves, "Am I able to do this?" The value part of the model is the part where students ask themselves, "Why should I do this task?" The expectancy part of the model is called expectancy for success because it's defined as students' beliefs about how well they will do on an upcoming task, or in a particular domain, such as reading, math, or science. The value part of the model can be divided into 4 parts. Intrinsic interest value is the anticipated enjoyment one expects to get, or that one does get when doing a task. Sometimes this is just called interest value or intrinsic value, so don't get confused about that. Attainment value is the extent to which a task allows one to express or confirm their core self and identity. So it's really based on one's identity. Utility value is the usefulness of a task for one's current or future plans. And cost is the cost of participating in a task. There's always a cost, whether it's the amount of effort one has to put in, the opportunities that one has to give up to do it, or the emotional cost involved, such as high stress. Now I want you to think for a minute. Why did you choose to pursue the career that you're pursuing, or your current career if you already have one? Pause the video and write down a few ideas. Do your reasons for pursuing a career fit with a situated expectancy value model? Your reasons would be consistent with the expectancy part of the model if you pursued it because you expected to do well at it. They would be consistent with the intrinsic interest value part of the model if you pursued it because you're interested in it and enjoy it. It would be consistent with attainment value if you did it because it's who you are. It's part of your identity. It would be consistent with utility value if you did it because it's useful to you. And it would be consistent with cost if you did it because it's worth the cost. In other words, the benefits outweigh the costs. Why should we care about this model? What does this model predict? Well, typically, expectancy for success predicts performance, such as grades. Values predict actual choices, such as enrolling in a math course, choosing to be a computer science major, or pursuing a career in a particular field. However, expectancies and values are related to both of these outcomes. Now that you have a good idea of how expectancies and values are defined in the expectancy value theory, let's test your understanding. I'm going to give you an example, and I want you to label it as one of these: expectancy, intrinsic interest value, attainment value, utility value, or cost. Pause the video between each example if you need more time. I'm going to give you about 8 examples. The first one is, I find working on chemistry problems to be boring. Which one of these 5 concepts does this best exemplify? This is an example of intrinsic interest value, because boring means that it's not interesting or enjoyable. That is, it's on the low end of the interesting and enjoyable spectrum. Let's do another one. I would be good at learning something new in math. This one is an example of expectancy, because she expects to do well at learning something new in math. What I learned in science is useful compared to what I learned in other subjects. This is an example of utility value, because it relates to the usefulness of science. I need to stay in good shape physically, because I'm a wrestler. This one is attainment value, because it refers to the person's identity as a wrestler. It's not worth my time to learn a new language. Here the person is evaluating the cost of taking the time to learn a new language. Therefore, it's most related to cost. I expect to do well in math this year. This is a very clear example of expectancy, because it directly relates to expectations for doing well in the future. I like writing essays a lot. The key word here is like. Like indicates that the person enjoys it, which is a definition of intrinsic interest value. Some things I learned in school are useful. This statement refers to utility value, because it's about the usefulness of things to her personal goals. Okay, that's the last example. I hope that you did well on this test because you understood these concepts. Certainly the ideas behind expectancy and value are key components to the expectancy value theory. However, the theory extends beyond these immediate concepts to encompass the reasons that a person might have particular expectancies and values. Here's a visual of the model, and I'll give you a brief overview of it now. Starting at the right side of the model, we can see that expectancy and value affect one another, which means that they're related. And here we see that both expectancy and value predict achievement-related choices and performance. This is what I've been discussing so far in this presentation. Now let's see what affects expectancies and values. Here we see how goals and general self-schemas affect both expectancy and value. This includes things such as self-concept of one's abilities, self-schemas, personal and social identities, and short and long-term goals. Values are also directly influenced by affective reactions and memories. As we take a step back further in the model, we see that both of these boxes involve perceptions and interpretations, both of which can be influenced by other people. For example, in this top box, we see how perceptions are affected by socializers' beliefs and behaviors, gender and other social roles, ability characteristics and demands, and possible activities. People's interpretation of experience is also important and includes things such as whether they believe that something happened because of their effort and ability, which may be internal, or something that happened external to them, such as a lucky break. As we look back even further, we see that perceptions and interpretations are influenced by broader cultural and social factors, such as gender and other social role systems, stereotypes of activities and the nature of abilities, and family demographics. Here we also see the role of socializers' beliefs and behaviors. Personal characteristics such as aptitudes, temperaments, sex and ethnic group are also important, as is one's previous achievement-related experiences. Jackie Eccles and her colleagues initially developed the model to help explain gender differences in math expectancies and values, and how these influenced girls' and boys' choices of math courses. They had reason to believe that these choices were influenced by culture and social factors, which is why all of these factors are included in the model. So that brings us to the next question. What can teachers do to motivate students? Well, as I mentioned earlier, situated expectancy value theory highlights a few of the music model of motivation categories of strategies, in that it reminds teachers to ensure that students understand why the content is useful, to help students believe that they can succeed if they put forth the effort, and to trigger students' interest in what they're supposed to be learning. In the larger view of the music model, you can see that students' perceptions in a course are in the middle of the figure, including usefulness, success, and interest. Attainment value is related to one's identity beliefs, so it's part of the internal variables in the music model, as shown in the lower left. These identity beliefs are slower to change, but they definitely can have an effect on students' perceptions in a course, as noted by this green arrow between the boxes. And cost value is over here, because even when students are motivated in a course, they still make a cost-benefit decision about the extent to which they're going to engage in the course.
If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe with post notifications on for more motivating others content. Here's Dr. Jones's contact information. For more information about these theories, please check out the Music Model website and Dr. Jones's book about motivating students by design. There are links to both of these in the description below. Here are the references that were cited in the video. Thanks for watching. Bye!